Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay Will. So just in case you've been living under a rock and you haven't heard, one of my favorite companies, ZTE, who produced these two bad boys here. This is just a couple of the phones that they brought out that were really great and that are still great. They kind of hit a snag in the US, and we kind of see this kind of trend coming for certain manufacturers that are trying to keep their feet planted on the ground in the US. It could be kind of difficult. It's like an uphill battle for a lot of these companies. So recently, ZTE had, I think, some kind of agreement or settlement or something they had to take care of. And I guess some things happened with that, and they're unable to get that resolved. However, that's not what this video is about. I did a podcast on, are they being treated fair? And I feel like, you can say that I'm being biased because I like their products or that I deal with, CES and all that kind of stuff through ZTE. That's just not the point. The point is they make great phones. And I've purchased a lot of their phones. And I think that what's happening to ZTE is kind of strange. So if you weren't on the podcast, pretty much I kind of talked about whether or not they got shafted or not by this so-called punishment. And if you don't know, what happened is they were banned from using like Qualcomm products or just things that are in the US to go into their phones for 7 years. I've never heard of anything like this. I've seen companies get fined. And so that's why in that podcast I kind of talked about, like, is this even fair at all? This is unreal that some kind of, this is their punishment, if you will. This is their fine. This is what's going to happen to them. And I just find it strange that they came up with that solution. Now, first, my first thought is that they're just trying to limit who's making money or who's in charge or who's kind of getting a lot of money from the U.S. market. And, there's only a couple of manufacturers who do that right now. And it's unfortunate that anyone who tries to get in that circle kind of gets the boot. Now, I'm not here to defend, okay, this shouldn't happen to them. That's not what it's about. My question to you is, do you think it's fair, that kind of punishment? ZTE produces some really solid phones. And we could also talk about Huawei as well. They seem to be under the radar as well. And it's unreal that is what's going to happen to them. 7 years is a long time. Pretty much you're shooting them. They're out of the game. If they want to use Qualcomm processors and things like that, Sony sensors in their phones, they're going to have to switch it up to a completely different processor, which isn't impossible. Some phones, Sony was using MediaTek processors for a while. The Ultra series now uses the Snapdragon series. But all is not lost because you have other ways to get a phone out. So if you didn't know, ZTE recently patented the Axon 9 and the Axon 9 Pro. Now, to me, that means, okay, they're getting ready to come out with this phone. It's looking pretty good. However, with this new ban in place for 7 years, they can't get any Qualcomm processors. They might not be able to get Sony sensors. I don't know. You go read the article yourself. I'll try to remember to link it down below. Or just Google it. It's everywhere. So what do you guys think about this treatment right here that Huawei's getting, that ZTE's getting, for just trying to make it here in the U.S.? This kind of situation is, again, strange to me. Never seen anything like this. A company getting banned from getting products. I don't know. You read the article, you tell me your opinion, leave your emotion out of it and just speak facts, or if you can, or just give your opinion about it. Try not to think with a lot of people comment with emotion, which is the wrong way to go about things. Even me, I'm not, just because I like their products, I'm not going to give them a pass. So whatever they did to violate that rule, or whatever, the government had in place, obviously they violated it, In the article, I will tell you, though, it says that they were supposed to fire 4 of their big-time executives and punish, discipline 35 of the other employees that I guess were involved in whatever happened. I don't even really know what happened. But I know what the article says, but again, if I don't hear from the horse, we take it with a grain of salt. But they obviously had some kind of infraction and something went wrong, or they wouldn't do this to them. But my question is about the severity of what they're doing to them. Like, really, do you have to ban the ability for them to get Qualcomm processors? Do you have to ban the ability for them to get other internals from other big companies, which is just wrong to me? I don't know. You tell me. Huawei caught a big nail in the coffin too as well. So I'm not writing ZTE off as a company. It's just not happening. They have all these phones that are still in production, but this is the last flagship that ZTE produced, and it's a killer flagship, the Axon 7. So like I said earlier, they do have the patents for the Axon 9 and the Axon 9 Pro. Will we see the light of those? Will they ever come to the surface? I don't know. But what do you think about how some things are being handled now in the U.S. if someone does a violation? Now, let me say this also. It's kind of strange to me that there's just not like a fine or something like that. Make them pay $40 million, $10 million. Other companies are doing. T-Mobile just got with a fine for using fake ringtones. Apple just got hit with a fine for, I forgot what it was. They paid $300 million. I don't know. All these companies get hit with things. Samsung got hit with a fine. They pay millions. But how are we going to take care of ZTE and Huawei? We're going to make sure that they can't even produce phones with the essentials that they need to get ahead, or at least keep their feet planted on the ground in the U.S. Fair or not fair? You tell me. It's your man, Jay Will. I got to hear what you got to say about this down below. Remember, no emotion, fellas. Just say it for what it is. Take care.